You've changed. I'm not guessing, I'm telling you. Something shifted for you. Maybe gradually, maybe in a single moment you barely noticed, but somewhere between where you started and where you are now, you are genuinely not the same person. And yet, you still wake up some mornings feeling exactly like the old version of yourself. Still second guessing, still hesitating, still waiting for some internal alarm to go off that says, okay, you've officially become a new person. Congratulations. That alarm never comes, does it? Today, I want to talk about why. Because what's happening to you has a name. And once you understand it, I think it's going to make the next chapter of your life feel a whole lot less confusing. Welcome to Uplifted Living. I'm Nick Gilbert, and this is Season 2. Let me ask you something. Have you ever done something, made a real decision, kept a hard commitment, changed a habit you'd been fighting for months, and then looked in the mirror expecting to feel different? Like the change was supposed to show up on your face somehow? You started going to bed earlier. You stopped doom scrolling at 11 p.m. You had that conversation you'd been avoiding for 6 months. You followed through on something for once in a way that actually felt true to who you want to be, and then you waited for the feeling to catch up. And it didn't. At least not right away. Here's what almost nobody in the personal growth world talks about. And I mean almost nobody. Because the whole industry is built on the idea that action equals transformation in real time. Do the thing, feel the shift, build the habit, become the person, check the box, collect the identity. But that's not how identity actually works. There's a lag, a gap. Sometimes days, sometimes months, between who you're becoming and who you still think you are. And if you don't understand that gap, you will misread it every single time. You'll call it failure. You'll use it as proof that nothing really changed. You'll turn it into evidence against yourself at 2 a.m. when the doubt shows up. Today, I want to map that lag for you. By the end of this episode, you're going to have a completely different relationship with the uncomfortable in-between feeling. The one where you've already done the work, but you haven't felt the work yet. And I think this might be one of the most important conversations we will have all season. So let's go. I want to tell you about something that happened to me a few years back. I was maybe 8 or 9 months into what I'd call a genuine season of growth. Not the hustle culture, optimize every minute kind, the quieter kind. I was showing up differently in conversations. I was more intentional about what I said yes to. I was actually following through on things which honestly had not always been my strong suit. By any real measure, I was a different person than I'd been a year before. But I remember sitting with a close friend, someone who'd known me for a long time, and they asked how I was doing. And without really thinking about it, I said, I don't know. I still feel like I'm figuring things out, figuring out who I am. My friend looked at me and said, that's funny, because from the outside, you seem like you've already got it all figured out. I didn't know what to do with that, because on the inside, it didn't feel that way at all. It still felt messy, uncertain, like the real version of me, the one I was working toward, was still somewhere out ahead of me. Just slightly out of reach. Here's what I didn't understand then. I had changed. I just hadn't recognized myself yet. I want you to think about something for a second. You know how your phone or your laptop occasionally tells you there's a software update available? Sometimes you hit install and the whole thing restarts immediately. New version, done. That was quick. But other times, The update runs in the background for a long, long time before the restart happens, days sometimes. And you're walking around using the old interface. Same icons, same layout, same everything. While something completely new is being installed underneath the surface. You don't feel the update while it's installing. You only feel it after the restart. And here's where this gets important. Because here's what most of us do when we don't know the update is running. We open up the settings, see the old interface, and conclude nothing has changed yet. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, we stop hitting install. That's the danger of not understanding the lag. Not that growth stops working, but that we stop trusting it. So, what do you actually do when you're in the lag? I've got 3 things, and I want you to think of these less as steps and more as anchors. Something to hold on to when the in-between gets heavy. Anchor 1, name the lag out loud. This sounds almost embarrassingly simple. Stay with me. There's something that happens when you name what's happening to you. When you go from, I don't feel like I've changed, which your brain will try to quietly convert into, I haven't changed, to actually saying, I'm in the identity lag. The update is still running. That move, that tiny linguistic reframe shifts the experience from being against you to being a normal part of the process. Naming it doesn't fix the discomfort, but it stops you from weaponizing it. Think about it like this. In season 1, we talked about the GPS recalculating. When you take a wrong turn, the GPS doesn't spiral. It doesn't say, well, you've clearly failed as a navigator and you should probably just pull over. It recalculates because it knows the destination is still real, even when the route looks completely different than expected. Naming the lag is how you recalculate instead of pulling over. Anchor 2. Look for the behavioral receipts. Remember the confidence receipts from earlier in the season? The idea that confidence isn't something you feel your way into, it's something you build through evidence. Small kept promises your brain can actually point to. Same principle here. When the lag is heavy, when you genuinely don't feel like a changed person, you go looking for the receipts. Not the big dramatic ones, the quiet ones. The fact that you had a difficult conversation last week and you didn't avoid it, the fact that you've been waking up a little earlier, the fact that you paused before reacting and chose something different, even once. Your feelings haven't caught up yet, but the receipts are already there. And the receipts are proof that the update is running, even when the interface still looks the same. Anchor 3. Stop waiting for the feeling to confirm the fact. This is one of the most counterintuitive, especially if you spent any time in personal growth spaces, where we talk a lot about alignment and inner work and feeling congruent. All of that matters. I'm not dismissing it. But here's the thing about the lag. Waiting to feel the new version of yourself before you act like the new version of yourself puts you in a loop that goes nowhere. We talked about this in season 1. You don't wait until you feel confident to act confidently. You act and the feeling follows. Same logic here. You don't wait until you feel like a changed person to treat yourself like one. You treat yourself like one. You act from the updated version, even while the interface still looks old. And eventually, maybe slowly, maybe all at once, in one of those moments that catches you completely off guard, you'll look up and you'll realize the restart happened. The new version loaded. You're already running it. Real quick, if you're finding this useful, the best thing you can do is subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. New episodes every other week. Okay, back to it. I want to take a breath here and just sit with you for a second. Because I know this podcast tends to find a specific kind of person. You're thoughtful. You're more self-aware than most people in your life probably realize. You take this stuff seriously. You've done the reading. You've had the conversations. You've sat with the hard questions most people skip right past. And you also have a tendency, tell me if I'm wrong, to grade yourself on a curve that nobody else in your life gets graded on. You hold yourself to a standard of transformation that requires you to feel the progress in real time, to sense it in your body, to have proof constantly that all the work is adding up to something. And when the lag hits, when you're in that in-between place, you don't just sit with the discomfort. You investigate it. You turn it over. You use it as a reason to wonder whether maybe you're not as far along as you thought. I just want to say this directly. You are further along than you think. Not as a good job, keep going kind of thing, in a literal, actual, factual way. The fact that you're even asking who you're becoming, noticing the gap, wanting to close it, being willing to sit with the discomfort of being in the in-between, that's not where you started. That is the update running. And I know it doesn't feel like enough. I know the lag is uncomfortable. I know you'd rather already be on the other side of it, but you're in it, which means you're in the process, which means you are not stuck, even when it feels exactly like being stuck. That distinction matters more than I can say. Season 1 of this podcast ended with a hot air balloon letting go of its sandbags. The image was about release, shedding the guilt, the pressure, the old stories that were keeping you grounded when you were meant to rise. But here's something I didn't say explicitly at the end of season 1. After the balloon rises, there's a moment where you're just floating, not climbing dramatically, not soaring into some highlight reel horizon, just floating in the new altitude, getting your bearings, figuring out what the view looks like from up here. That's where season 2 begins. Not with the transformation already complete, but with you up in the air, in the middle of the update, learning to recognize the new version of yourself from the inside. And the question that's going to drive everything we talk about this season is, who do you become after you let go? Not the perfect, pressure-free, fully realized version. The real, daily, imperfect version of who has to figure out what to do next with a little more space to breathe. That's the work. And it's slower than the highlight reel makes it look. And it's more interesting than the productivity content would have you believe. And it starts right here, in the lag, in the update, in the quiet, uncomfortable, absolutely necessary space between who you were and who you already are. Thank you for being here for season 2. Genuinely. I don't take lightly that you chose to spend this time here. If today's episode landed for you, share it with one person, just one, who might be in the lag right now, who might need to hear that the update is running. And if you're not already following the show, do that now. New episodes every week, and we've got a lot to talk about this season. I'll see you next week. Take good care.